Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is INX Prime Live. Remember, we are on your screens every single Monday to Friday between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Now, technology plays such an important role, not only in South Africa, but globally as well. And it's important for us to speak to some of the change makers and the movers of shakers that play in the space of technology as well as banking. Now, we are chatting to one of those individuals today. We're actually going to be speaking to Rofhiwa Muthivhithi in particular. Now, he is an accomplished data and analytics leader at Standard Bank Group, as well as someone who is seen as a banking leader in that sense. Now, he's done such great work in terms of digital transformation through innovation as well as data strategies. Now, we are going to be looking at the future of technology, what could possibly happen in the space over the next 5 or 10 years, but more specifically in the banking segment as well. Rofhiwa, thank you so much for joining us this evening on INX Prime Live.
Thank you. That sounds like someone else that you're talking about.
No, you've done really, really well for yourself. And again, congratulations on the journey you've been on so far. Now, I want to actually touch on that journey. I know you've been in several. I mean, I'm looking at your CV as well. You've been in finance, telecommunication, mining, insurance. You've played in all of these spaces. How has technology influenced your career path in terms of getting to where you are today?
I think one of the things we shy away from talking about is how adaptability, basically, right? We started, I think, when I started my career, there was conversations around, we're now building, Microsoft then was building a bot that could code for you. You can just tell it, I want X and Y, or I want a website. I think one of the use cases that I started with was a simple use case to say, I want a website that does X and Y, right?
Yeah.
And that could be coded for you, and all you needed to do is probably compile it and run it, or whatever the case may be. And that was, 10 years, 12 years ago. And today we're sitting and talking about generative AI. We're talking about the Google Bard, all these technologies or AI technologies that are coming to fruition and impacting day-to-day lives of businesses. One of the things I would say is adaptability in all that we do. Something is going to change every day. There's always going to be something new. Ours is to ensure that we can harness the technology, harness the power of whatever, and I'm using technology for lack of a better word, whatever thing that comes. It doesn't have to be technology. It could be something else. It could be a flying car tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that in Dubai already as we speak, right?
So what are you not gonna? What are you gonna drive your petrol car forever? Are you gonna, Yeah. So I think more than anything, being able to adapt to whatever is next is one of the biggest strengths that we can have as human beings, not just companies or anything for that matter.
And I mean, just looking at your current title as well, being a data and analytics leader at one of the leading banks in South Africa, one of the top 5 or top 6, whatever it might be. Yeah. If we are looking at that in particular, and we're looking at our banking system in South Africa. Now, we look at countries like the US, for example, who everyone thinks is a first world country in many aspects. Their banking, however, is not on the same standard as what we have, right? We have one of the best banking systems in the whole world, and I think we should be proud of that. But when it comes to innovation and technology and using innovation to improve it, I think it's something that we do have room for improvement. But being someone like you who plays in the space of data-driven strategies and is actually trying to create that solution, how have you actually managed to transform operations at a banking industry, for example, a banking institution, using the kind of work that you do?
So the data is the new oil. I'm sure you've heard that before. So everything we do these days revolve around data, right? I'm sure the watches that we're wearing, that's data for the company that made this watches.
Yeah.
That's data that goes through. I'll draw you a simple line, right? You've got an app on your phone, probably a Discovery app or some fitness app that tracks your steps or whatever the case may be. And there's a company that I won't mention the name that's tracking how fit are you, and you probably have a live cover with them, and they're tracking how fit are you, and that probably affects your premium, your life cover premium or your medical health, whatever the case may be. That alone should tell you that if you don't know the touch point, each of these touch points of where data is affecting your life, you're probably doomed in today's world. But more than anything, I think being able to do the right thing at the right time is just amazing. We can go back to the stories of Blackberries and Nokias, and you were there, we experienced it firsthand. But like I said, even going back to the initial question you asked is, change is like the primary factor for me. There is no amount of new degrees that we can come up with, new stacks. I don't know. I'm trying to think now. Some of the things that we Thamsa can come up with tomorrow that are going to work without being able to adapt to what's our next in business, what's our next as human beings, evolving and moving on to the next big thing that impacts our day-to-day lives. And from I think more than anything for companies, we need to identify what's going to bring in the money. Right, for the business. It's a business. It needs to be profitable. It needs to pay salaries.
Yeah, the bottom
right?
line matters.
The bottom line matters the most. And that conversation, unfortunately, is not the nicest one to have. And when we look at investing in these new technologies, your Gen AI and the new things, the new kids in the block, shall we call them, is the first question. If you go to an exec and say, I want to do X and Y, they'll ask you, what's the impact? What is the value that's going to bring the market? And one of the things I always say to teams that I work with is, don't come to me and tell me you want 50 million rand to bring 5 million rand value. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense for business. And more than anything else, think about your own life. You can't be asked to insure a watch that costs 5,000 rand and you pay 1,000 rand per month. You need 5 months to save up for another watch. Exactly. It needs to make money. I'm using the watch analogy as an example, but for business as well, if we run this corporates like our own businesses, I'm sure we'd make better decisions.
I agree with you completely. And I think it's so important to have that mindset, and that's what's going to obviously allow you to elevate yourself and grow yourself in this space without a doubt. But, just understanding digital transformation and even looking at COVID, for example, a lot of businesses failed during that time period because they were not, technologically savvy or even digitally savvy in any way. They didn't actually pivot to become a platform that can actually succeed. And if you're looking at the banking industry, like you said, data is gold at the end of the day, right? The more you understand behavior, the more it creates the domino effect so that you end up becoming the most innovative bank. But just touching on digital transformation as well, and I want to emphasize it because we speak so much about it when it comes to corporates, and a lot of people speak about this word of digital transformation and this phrase, but it's like this loose word that people don't really understand what it actually means. I wanted to know, what are some of the key components to be able to have a successful campaign when it comes to turning over your company to make it into, digitally transform it in that sense?
Yeah. So, I think one of the guys who started this thing, digital transformation is literally moving from typewriter to printer that we have today.
Yeah.
That's digital transformation. And one of the things that these guys did when they were coming up with this new tech is identifying weak signals in the market. Now, what are weak signals? If you think about the Bitcoin has been up and down, and Ethereum and all of these other technologies. But if you think about it, is the thing that's in the market today something that would be impactful tomorrow? COVID, right? When COVID came, a lot of business shut down because they couldn't adapt to what was the new norm, right? A lot of e-commerce was one of the most profitable businesses. Zoom went from zero to hero overnight, right? Because they were there at the right time to address the right need. There needs to be done in the context of identifying weak signals in the market. It will never change. Everything we do, we're trying to solve a problem. Digital transformation is that one way of solving a problem better than you did yesterday, right? With either better technologies, better environment, better thinkers in the room, right? Coming up with better solutions to solve those problems. But overall, I think going back again to your question is, for an organization, change management is a big thing. How many times have you heard AI is going to take your jobs, tech is going to take your jobs, and all of those things? We need to sort of build up the skills we anticipate will be the most valuable skills in the organization. How many times have you been hearing you need to be adept, you need to learn the new skills in the market, you need to put yourself in the market for the right job, etc. You know the story. But the biggest thing for me would be keep on the edge. Keep on identifying what's the next big thing and how do you position yourself to be either in the next big thing, or otherwise you might find yourself trying to swim in an ocean.
It's quite powerful as well. Yeah, and I mean, just looking at you as an individual, right? Because it's nice to look at case studies and blueprints as well. And you're someone who's done it pretty well in terms of being successful in the banking space, in the profession that you're doing. but you're also good at many other things. And I think that's what makes entrepreneurs and business people today successful, is that they have the ability to, create more of a holistic aspect to themselves. So you're good at, real estate as well. I know you're good at logistics in particular. Technology is central to a lot of those things. How have you leveraged technology to be able to be successful at three different industries that are not always, completely different? They are complementary to each other, but they're different to each other.
Yeah. I think one of the things is the things that other people build that make my life easier. There's the tracking app that you use on your phone. That's something that other people probably never open.
Yeah.
If you have one vehicle and it's sitting wherever it's sitting, and you don't have anything to worry about that vehicle, it's okay. You can close the app. It's like cameras in your house. I'm sure you look at them only when there's a need to look at them. But those are advancements that actually help us become either manage our assets better, do whatever in that instance. Real estate. There's applications that were built that we can name them, right? That make our life easier in terms of management of your properties, management of assets, outside of the arenas which I operate at least. E-commerce as well. There's a lot of technology. Personalization is a big thing, right, in the market currently. You can think about. I'm coming up with ideas. I hope no one is taking notes. So you can think about instances where you want a specific. So you can say, I want a house that is 2-bedroom, does this, has this, and all you do is type your story, right? And that just gives you 10 potential properties that you can go look into instead of browsing through Property 24 for I don't know how many hours, right? That's something you would want to use.
Yeah,
right?
It's convenient.
It's convenient, right? That's an example of easiest personalization you can do from a property management aspect. But those are some of the things things that you'll pick up as there's the market grows, but there's different things. I don't want to limit it to the things that I'm thinking about now. There's different things that keep coming up. I mean, the gentleman that was interviewed here as well is someone who's taking a Uber model and integrating it into the South African market, looking at a different segment. It's something amazing, and we often don't think about, but it's a need. He's addressing a need.
It's very true. And even if you're looking at something like, even in the UAE, for example, there's a company called Kareem that got bought over by Uber. It's because they managed to be able to identify what's the needs of people in that specific country and then be able to be relevant towards it. So exactly what you're mentioning now. But I want to touch on that because you are seen as a mentor. You did mention, now you're speaking about other people, advising them. That's exactly what we need in South Africa. And we do have questions and comments coming in from social media. I mean, Antonio wants to know, he says he loves the space of technology, and that's his main focus in life. He wants to just build businesses in the technical space and technology space. What advice do you have as a leader and a mentor as well for someone like Antonio? He's young, he wants to be in the space of technology. What advice do you have for him?
Antonio needs to know that everything we do is solving someone's problem or answering a need, basically. So find the problem, find people's pain points. Business is solving someone's pain point, right? Banking, do you want to keep your money under the mattress? No. So make it convenient for people to transact money, create a bank and create a whole banking system. Do you want to invest money? Do you want to invest? It's simple, right? Keep finding the need, keep finding, and sometimes it's sitting around with our friends and just having a conversation. What's the biggest thing that annoys you today about anything? Doesn't have to be, don't say tech, because if you say tech, now you make them think around in something that must be on their phone or something. It could be a watch, it could be a different something, some technology, maybe spectacles, Google, lens, spectacles. It could be something like that. But my advice would be always look for a problem to solve, and that's where your business comes from. There is no business that is existing and it's just limbo. Any business that exists is solving a problem for people, and always find the people that you're trying to sell. It's one thing to have a Nokia, but not have people to sell Nokia to.
Sure.
Right.
Very, very
so
powerful.
Make sure you have the people or know the people that you're trying to sell the thing that you're coming up with, basically.
Yeah, very, very profound as well. Rofhiwa, thank you so much for joining us tonight on INX Prime Live. It was a great conversation.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. That is Rofhiwa Muthivhithi, who is actually an accomplished data and analytics leader at one of the leading banking institutions in South Africa, just telling us about the importance of technology and where it's actually headed over the next 5 to 10 years. But more specifically, it's about finding solutions to problems. And I think that's exactly what entrepreneurs need to do to be able to become successful. But on that note, we are going to take a quick ad break. We'll come right back.